Welcome to session 4 of ED638A. In this session, we're going to discuss defining terms, some of those words that we misuse or are not sure of, and talk a little bit about those. We're going to talk about word study principles, organization, instruction, and schedules. And there's lots of information in Words Their Way. I've highlighted them, obviously, in your PowerPoint, but as you read through the text and look at the PD toolkit, the professional development toolkit, you'll learn lots more. And this week we're going to discuss Pat Cunningham, Dorothy Hall, but we always hear Patricia Cunningham and the making words. And then, yes, I'm sorry, again, we're going to look at word sorts. Some of those terms that you'll confuse and we're going to discuss is the word identification, word recognition. Sometimes people also use the terms word analysis or word attack. Many times these are used interchangeably. So I've given you the definitions. I'm not going to read them to you, but as you go through the PowerPoint or the mini lectures, take a few minutes and think about them. And in one of your activities this week, I'm asking you to define them in your own words. And then those are the components really of word identification, everything from picture clues, which has now just been added as a distinct word ID skill, to all the phonics also. And then there is the big debate, synthetic or analytic phonics. And maybe when you were doing your research, that came into play. And we each have a specific feeling about the philosophy we go with, but think about those as you read through and review some of those terms this week. Decoding is also a word you may have heard, and people will say, oh, we can't decode. She can decode. She decodes very well. So it really is a process of translating our written language into verbal speech. And usually that is by employing knowledge of the sound symbol correspondence. It's often used synonymously with word ID. But the term decoding is frequently associated with word identification by the phonic analysis. Also, you've heard sight words or sight vocabulary. And in Harford County Public Schools, students in kindergarten have a sight word list that they need to learn, because we know that many of those words are in their reading and they need to be able to immediately identify them and recognize them as a whole, because usually the sight words you can't sound out. And so we teach kids sight words. And then another term associated with word recognition is fluency. And the definition is the process of automatically, accurately, and I don't know if I would include that word rapidly. Some people do in their definition, recognizing. It's recognizing the words, but not that you're reading it so quickly. Remember, we talked about that just the other week. And in thinking about Words Their Way and thinking about some of the word work or word study principles and organization, instruction, schedule. And so I've given you the different pages where you can look for organizing, for guidelines, for different levels of support and the instruction, and then 10 principles of word study instruction, which I think are very helpful. Words Their Way has that gradual release model in thinking about teaching modeling and explicit explanations to the guided practice to the independent. So you'll look at that this week. And then Pat Cunningham has many wonderful books on making words. And I know in my school where when I retired several years ago, all the grade levels had different copies and had words, making words books for their particular grade level. And so there are many out there, and I just grabbed a few to share with you. But please think about using some of Pat Cunningham's ideas and looking a little bit more deeply at some of the concepts of making words. And there's a short video that I've included for you to look at that I thought was really interesting in making words using some of our modern technology. Never access Teach Club. Please think about looking at this, or it's Teach Club, teachhub.com. And there's an article right there about some ideas for all about making word strategies and different steps to plan the lesson, steps for the activity. So if you have not used the Teach Hub, consider using that or looking at that at least for this week. Included on the last video, this site for using Pit Collage for making words, and I'll just play the first couple seconds to see if this is something you might like to access.
First of all, you need to tap Open Pit Collage, tap Freestyle, tap Photos, and then add your background photo from your camera roll. Hit the check mark, double tap on it, and then set as background. Now you're ready to add your letters. Tap the plus button, add text. We're going to go over and select, actually we'll just type the letter in first. Make sure it is capital locks off so it's a lowercase. That's a capital. When you tap this, make sure it's tapped twice. It's a lowercase. And then we're going to tap the text and slide over here and pick quicksand. And we're going to make our A as big as our box. And we're going to tap our next letter that we need. And just keep adding letters until all the boxes are filled.
And so this concludes our session. I'm hoping you are learning a lot about word study or word identification. Thank you very much and have a great evening.